What's up, everybody? I was out hunting the other morning and I was kind of straining to hear something, zoom in my hearing on whatever it was. And I popped my ears and got this momentary, real high pitch kind of ringing in my ears. And it instantly sent me into a flashback from back in my teenage days, I guess. And it made me think of shopping in department stores. The one that I specifically remember is J.C. Penney. But it seems like I would hear this basically in any mall that I went to. And by the way, thank God for the internet, because I haven't had to go to a mall or a department store for years and years now. But have any of you guys experienced this? The only time I remember it was from, back as a kid, school shopping and stuff. But there was a very distinct high-pitched squeal that I remember thinking, what is that? And I mean, we're talking about in the middle of the store. I've looked into this a little bit now, and other people have experienced it. And one of the main explanations is that it's like ultra high frequency to scare away birds or something. But this wasn't at the edge of the store. It was always in the store. And the other explanation is to dissuade teens from loitering, which we'll get to that. So I looked up high-pitched frequency in department stores, and this is the AI overview of this. Number one contender, ultrasonic devices. Some stores use ultrasonic devices to deter birds or loitering. These devices can produce sounds that some say are like birds or a flying monkey. Okay, I got a sidetrack here. People that are worried about AI taking over the world, guys, it is not intelligent at all. They don't have anything that can actually think. Trust me, I just got done dealing with the YouTube AI. All they can do is program responses for certain keywords, and they can scan for certain keywords. It can't think in the least. It can't make associations like you and I can. That's why all I have to do is substitute a word, and we can say whatever we want about whatever we want. But to the AI, it is perfectly normal to give a response saying it sounds like flying monkeys. And it's because in one article, someone said it sounds like flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz. But I think that this is just rebranding of technology that's been around basically since the dawn of video games, where we used to say we're playing against the computer. Now they say you're playing against AI. I think it's just a bunch of hype. Anyway, back to the high-pitched ringing. Ultrasonic devices, like I said, I'd always hear it in the middle of a store, so it doesn't make sense as a bird deterrent. And we'll get to the teen loitering thing. Music to encourage people to stay longer. This is kind of the opposite, because once you notice it, it's kind of annoying. Electronic components. Well, you don't notice this in houses where there's a lot of electric appliances. And it's definitely not squeaky doors or carts. Now let's get to the first human response on this. This was the first thing that popped up when I typed in high frequency sound in department stores. When you were a child, did you ever hear a really high-pitched sound in department stores? Okay, so somebody else has experienced this. And here's the difference between an AI response and a human response. And this is from 2006. Yes, I've heard that sound before. It turns out it was a large fat woman trying to fit into a size 6 pants. The struggle is real, y'all. Okay, there was not one serious answer in there. It was just all people joking around. But this is someone else describing exactly what I was talking about, and this was from 2006, and my memories of this are from like the 80s and 90s. We're going to move on to another site that actually has reasonable answers. This one says, high-pitched noise at Dulles Town Center Mall on 1420. Has anyone else visit recently and notice a high-pitched noise throughout the entire mall? Number one response was, sometimes places use devices that emit high-pitched sounds that only younger people can hear so they won't loiter. Now, we'll talk more about this and some recent technology in a bit, but I specifically remember hearing this in the middle of the store. When you go outside, it quits. So running people out of your store is antithetical to selling them things. If this were some technology secretly deployed on the public, I would think that it would be to loosen inhibitions, to make them spend money more freely, or to put them in a daze so that they stay in your store longer. You know, the last thing you want to do is run people out of your store. But the technology they're talking about does exist, and we'll get to that in a second. Next response was saying that last response was likely right, but there's also things called sonic beacons that are used for advertising sometimes. Basically, if you have an app that has access to your microphone, it's going to use that noise to track where you were and what stores you went to and stuff. It's fairly common in malls. Okay, but people didn't have smartphones back in the 80s and 90s. And with the accuracy of GPS these days, they know what store you're going into and where you're going exactly. The next response confirms that they heard it, but they have no idea what it was. It was very annoying. Another person says, yes, I heard it. I thought it was just me being crazy. I asked my mom as we were walking out, what's that sound? And she didn't hear it. Now, I don't remember if I ever asked anybody else if they heard it. I very seriously doubt I did because I kind of kept to myself, all introverted as a child still. And it is true that children will hear a higher frequency sound than adults because of hearing loss. But how does that help your cause as an outlet to have something that only kids can hear and adults can't? Another one, yeah, I work at the mall and I randomly hear it sometimes. It drives me nuts. So why would they do this? Well, one person suggests, well, I wonder if it has something to do with the ultrasonic devices used to scare birds away. Now, that at least makes some sense, but I specifically remember this being in the store, not out of the store. But I guess you could have problems with birds and automatic doors, and they fly in. Now, these run in the range of 15 to 25 kilohertz. And I actually got a tone generator and found the closest tone that I could to what I remember hearing. Keep in mind, this was 20 years ago, but, it's something that's stuck with me. So I'm going to play a little clip here in the 12 kilohertz range. And this is basically what I remember. If you have pets around, it's not going to bother them. You'll see Ruckus react to it. But just giving you a heads up here, you might get a reaction out of your pets. So fair warning. Here we go. Okay, so that was about 12 kilohertz. And just to qualify that a little bit, I used to be a musician. I self-taught just from sound, so I actually am pretty good with pitch. Not bragging or anything. It's just I feel fairly confident that was around the range that I used to hear. Now, these bird shoer awares, they operate in the 15 to 25 kilohertz range, and I put on 15 kilohertz, and I can't hear it at all. Ruckus can. It doesn't seem to hurt him or anything like a dog whistle, but I can see that he's reacting to it. So I don't know, maybe that's it. But here's the deal, is if this was widely practiced ever since the 80s in department stores, then it seems like if I looked it up, I would find it really quick. JCPenney or Macy's or mall people would be saying, well, yeah, we're scaring birds away. But there's nothing of the sort that I've found. Now, speaking of scaring things away, this is a thing. It's called a mosquito device, and its sole purpose is to run people away from your property. I'll read you some of the reviews here. The mosquito works great for us. Our problem with panhandlers and homeless people hanging out has dramatically improved. It was amazing. Immediately, the mosquito effectively cleared out the loitering teens from the troubled area without hassle or confrontation. This is like a passive-aggressive dream come true. The mosquito works. We installed the mosquito in our troubled building and zap. No more gangbangers, drug dealers, prostitutes hanging out in front. But like I said earlier, if a huge corporation was using this nationwide for years, it seems like you would get a straightforward answer on it, like you do here with 7-Eleven stores nationwide have a, quote, crime convention through environmental design. These people and their naming of things need to, anyway. They decided to call a loud, high-pitched, annoying noise environmental design technology.
Or crime prevention through environmental design technology installed outside their stores. Some locals believe the noise is being used as a deterrent to keep homeless people from loitering around the business, though 7-Eleven corporate declined to comment on that as well. Whatever the case may be, this ear-splitting sound is not getting any approval from the community.
It's annoying. I don't want to come around this area. I don't want to come to 7-Eleven.
Now that I know it's 7-Eleven, I'm writing to...
Okay, so they're using that to intentionally drive people away. I compared that to the sound that I remember, that was actually a lower frequency. I'd say around the 10 to 11 kilohertz range. And once again, that is intentionally driving people away. So why would this be broadcast inside of a department store? Keeping birds out is the most likely explanation that I've found. But once again, why wouldn't they just have a press release just exactly like 7-Eleven? When you looked it up online, they say, yeah, we're keeping the birds out. What's the big deal? So I don't know if there's anything nefarious going on here. I just thought I'd throw it out there and see if any of you guys have experienced this. I'm sure some of you have. And I will express my utter distrust of large corporations and some of their strategies. It's kind of died down now, but a couple years ago, people had some serious distrust of 5G technologies. And I'm just going to say this. I lived in California for 15 years roughly, and many times it had crossed my mind that there is some kind of frequency, there's something being beamed in major metropolis areas. I almost always felt a little bit on edge, could never quite fully relax when I was there. And when I'd take off out into the mountains, that was the only time that I fully felt like I could just have my guard down and relaxed. And that was miles and miles outside of the nearest cell phone range. So it's been a long-standing theory of mine that people in certain areas are being bombarded by some kind of frequency that is messing with them on levels that we don't even quite understand. I mean, you can't see or detect microwave radiation in any way until it gets up to a certain amplitude. Like if you manage to crawl inside of a microwave and turn it on, you'd feel it then. But you could theoretically be getting slowly cooked by something like this and not even know it. I have a couple of family members that have worked on these microwave communication towers, and after a few years of this, they both report a strange feeling in their chest. So I don't think that this sound that I'm talking about has anything to do with that, but my number one and number two guesses would be it's either to get rid of the birds or it's hypnotizing people so that they spend more money. Or it's nothing at all and I just made a video about nothing. But I'm sure some of you guys have heard this and I'll see it down in the comments. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Static out.